Classic
Sticky
Star
here.
Wars.
Just so everybody knows. The first- Well, welcome. 100 welcomes. Thank you for joining us. It is Force Connect on the streaming Star Wars network. I am Pete Fletzer. I am one of your hosts, but I am joined, as always, by my good friend Chris Ryans and Nick Milky. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday night? I don't know if it's beautiful where you are or when you're listening. I don't know, but I'm in a good mood. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It's a little cold outside.
Yeah, we got a little bit of Philly January
Not bad.
chill. But I'll tell you what, man, like this whole Northeast this winter, we cannot complain. There's been like
No.
nothing. And knock on
Yeah, it
wood,
was-
knock
well,
on
what's
whatever I can. It's
Wasn't it like, what was it? Like the other day it was like 83 or something. I could be wrong.
yeah, I think it was
Maybe I'm off by 20 degrees maybe. But
yeah, but sure, it still worked out. It's still good. And how about you, Nick? You were down south. How's like? I mean, we're doing the weather report here. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, as I chime in on the old guy trifecta, as we talk about the weather in all of our respective states,
right.
it is
Wow.
what we would call Alabama winter, which means it's about 40 degrees right now. But tomorrow it could be 77. We may have a tornado on Monday, and then it could be 30 again by the middle of the week.
Sure.
Look at
And
that.
if you don't, as we say in the South, if you don't like the weather, stick around. It'll change in a minute.
It's like a salad bar of natural disasters.
Right. We are nothing if not keeping you on your toes down here in the deep South.
And I think a salad bar of natural disasters is also a great way to describe this show sometimes. Which so we
Fair
are
enough.
we are the original live Star Wars conversation. Please feel free to join us. We have put the link in the chat. We are going to get kicked off in just a couple minutes. But before we do, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping as we do. First of all, make sure to follow us on all your social media, wherever you do it, wherever you're going. We have a TikTok, which is the most unpredictable thing in the world. We have an Instagram, and of course, we're very active on Twitter. We also have a Patreon program, which I really want to urge you to check out if you're thinking about joining the Patreon program. If it's been on your mind, you're going to want to do it before 4 p.m. East
Now's the
tomorrow,
time.
because we are one of the great advantages to the
Whoa.
Patreon program is that when we do recordings of Podcast of Wills and Around the Galaxy for as little as $3 a month, you can join us in those conversations. And tomorrow we are talking to Deborah Wilson, formerly of Mad TV, but as a Star Wars fan, you all know her as Seer Junda from Jedi Fallen Order. So,
Yep. And also, and I learned this doing a little bit of my research,
yes,
she was the voice of the Aki child that Rey talked to in Rise of Skywalker.
really.
Yeah, there was somebody else that did the body work, but she was the voice that did the voiceover work for that as well.
I am really excited to talk to her. Chris is looking at us.
And she's currently in the Miss Cleo documentary that's on HBO Max. So if any of you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s and remember all the Miss Cleo commercials, Deborah Wilson is also featured prominently in that documentary as well.
Well, yes. Well, so make sure to, if you're thinking about becoming a patron, or if you are a patron, please join us tomorrow. That one's going to be a lot of fun. Also, check out our website, streamingstarwars.com, to get a link to our Patreon program and also to our merch. I checked the store before I came on board, and we are through midnight tonight. I think it's 35% off on all merchandise. So go check that stuff out. Subscribe to this channel if you're watching and you're not subscribed. I don't understand why not, but do it now. Tell a friend. And if you're listening now and you're listening on the replay, pause it, go over to YouTube, find us at Streaming Star Wars, and then you can come on right back. But Nick, before we get started, we love to start our Friday nights with a little sip of, well, in this case, a little bit of brown liquor. What is the toast this week, my friend?
The toast this week is, and I've done this one a couple times, so forgive me if I retread a little bit of ground.
Is it John Williams again?
It's not John Williams.
Okay.
But hang in there. It's a toast to my weird space friends. I was gone last week. Scotty filled in for me, did the Hot Take show, which I just finally finished watching this afternoon. Fantastic show. I hate that I missed it. But even, and I texted, I think both of you, or I texted one of you this earlier this week, I only missed 1 week of the show, and I feel like I've been gone for 3 weeks. Like, I love being a part of this community, being a part of the Star Wars podcasting community, not only with the two of you guys, but our callers, my friends that I text throughout the week. And that's what Star Wars is. Star Wars is a community, and it is something that brings me joy, brings me happiness in the middle of a stressful week, whether it's work, whether it's family, the things that we have going on. So I'm always, always thankful that we can come together on a Friday night, have a drink, have a laugh, and do what we love to do, which is just talk about Star Wars. So here's to Weird Space Friends. Cheers and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Canada Dry counts. It's all right. Well, that's awesome, man. I could not agree more. I think every week we're getting more and more people hanging out with us, more and more people joining the family, and it's always great to see friends and old friends. And I think we have an old friend caller in the back, which we're going to get to after we take a little bit of a break in just a second. When we come back, we're going to kick the show off. We're going to take your calls. We are putting the link in the chat, so if you want to join us, if you have something to say, if something struck you this week in Star Wars, we want to talk about it with you. But first, we're going to take a real short break, and we will be right back with more Force Connect from Streaming Star Wars.
Revenge of the Sith acting challenge. I play Obi-Wan, you play Anakin. You're the blue line.
No.
Let's go.
No.
You were the chosen one.
No, this is a FaceTime call, buddy. I think
It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them.
No, you definitely have the wrong number.
Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
I'm not even sure what you're talking about, but thank you for calling. Check who you're trying to call. You got the wrong number, and don't be so upset about it. I'm sorry. You just have the wrong number. It happens. It's happened.
You were my brother, Anakin.
No, I'm not even Anakin, and I don't know who you are.
I loved you.
Oh, hey, easy. Listen, I don't feel the same way. No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, I'm so sorry. I hope you find who you're trying to call, though. Wait, where are you
going? And we're back. Chris, you look like you enjoyed that. Maybe you...
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to do one of those. That was dope.
So what do you got in the Star Wars world, Chris? What anything strike you this week?
Yeah. Can we talk about fillers?
You mean like what they put in hot dogs? And
hey, I've seen the great outdoors. Okay, I know what's in hot dogs.
No, you do not want to know what's in hot dogs. You don't want to go there.
So, but I saw people over the past couple of weeks, maybe upset or just kind of nonplussed about these episodes. Even this last one. Listen, I'm an otaku. I'm an old school otaku. I'm not an anime fan, and for anyone who watches like Naruto or even Dragon Ball or Boruto or One Piece or any of the big ones, there's going to be an era of a big stretch of fillers every now and again. Mm-hmm. Now, those episodes will be like every anime is based on a manga, the comic book, the original book, so everyone knows the story going into it.
Right.
The filler is so that the show doesn't catch up to what's going on in the books. And those episodes, like you can skip all that stuff and not miss out on the main story. When it comes to Bad Batch, when it comes to anything that's animated for Star Wars animated, just like Dave Filoni said, there's no such thing as a filler. There's something in each episode. If you're looking for just episodes like number 3 with Cody and Crosshair, the series would be over in like 5 or 6 episodes.
Correct. Right. That's why Mando's 8 episodes. That's why. Yeah, right. You're right. It's because it's constantly moving the story forward.
Right.
Agreed. Yep.
There's, what some of these episodes that aren't like hard based in the main storyline are doing, just like with Riot Racing and stuff like that. They're showing you these different parts of the galaxy, and I love seeing that. Just because it's not part of that main thing doesn't mean that there's nothing that's going to like call back later, like Purgos. You know.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
So I think people need to, not give like the lighter episodes such grief, and just look at them for what they are. And there's something to take away from all of it. This past episode, granted, it wasn't about them linking back up with Crosshair or
Right.
even Omega, like finding out that her older brother is still alive or something, Boba or something, wherever this season's going. Um, there's still something important in each one. And this one, for those who maybe have never played the games, like the Jedi Fallen Order game,
Yep.
this links to that and shows you a different part of the galaxy, shows you that there's like more ancient powers. Maybe there's something that people who haven't played the game never even knew about.
But I think
and
what
it just expands on the world. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I want to add to that though, Chris, and I think you're 100% right. And it's funny, my mind had to shift a little bit because I was watching the episode, and I have to say, halfway through it, my first thought was, "This is that dreaded filler." And I'm also, you hear me saying every single week, "There's no such thing as filler." Filoni never uses filler. But then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? This episode isn't going to unveil anything crazy. Like I knew it. I had this feeling at like quarter after the hour. I was like, yeah. And I was totally cool with that. And I just enjoyed the run. And now I take a look at, again, I reference Jack all the time. Jack's been begging all week to watch this episode. It was a crazy week. We didn't have a lot of time. We started watching it last night. And he loved it. He did not. Yeah. Nowhere did he say, "Well, geez, I wonder what's happening with Cody," which we saw last week. And he doesn't care. He's like, "That was fun. That was cool. Those are my guys having fun." And I think that's another thing to keep in mind as we look at these episodes. Yeah, we have 22 of these episodes, right, or something?
Is it 22
or is it 16? I don't know. 16. Either way, it's double digits, right? 16. I think you've raised an amazingly important point, and that is that, yeah, you can't give the whole story away right away, or it's a 2-hour show, and that's it. And that's fine, but it's also not that interesting, right? It's not. I mean, it's not that it's not that interesting. It's just that it moves a little bit too quickly, I think. But
and it's one of those things too. And if I can chime in on this as well, it's one of those things that even with something like this episode, that payoff may not be apparent until we get to the end.
Sure.
It's one of those like I had this, we talk about this all the time with the filler episodes, and we love to throw in the, Filoni doesn't do filler.
Right.
But Rebels is the one I reference all the time. There were episodes of Rebels, and I called them droids moving boxes around episodes because it was like, we're going on a supply run. We're going to go get trapped on a planet and get hunted by dark, sun-fearing, space rats or whatever, that like it's moving boxes around. But one of those moving boxes around episodes was the Purrgil episode.
Mm-hmm.
And the Purrgil comes back to play a huge significant role by the time the series ends, and the way it goes with Thrawn and Ezra and that kind of thing. Like, they plant these seeds and they do it so well that even in something we're watching right now, like, yeah, I got Indiana Jones vibes. I got Zepho, of course, talking about Jedi Fallen Order, that big machine, the beam in the middle of it. Like, it gives off big Zepho vibes, but it also, we really can't know, ultimately, is it filler? I've been rewatching Mando this week. And I watched the Toro Calican episode, from the first season. Garbage. It's so dumb. It's so annoying. But we also get Fennec in that episode, which was big. But then we also get Boba's boots showing up at the end of that episode, and we know what that's going to end up paying off for, further down the line. So,
and also seeing how the Tusken Raiders communicate.
Yes, the communication with the Tuskens, absolutely.
And let me just say, Toro Calican, Calico, what is it? Calicos?
Yeah, Calican.
Calican.
I love that guy, man.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I'm waiting for the Black Series figure.
It wasn't as bad as the first time that episode aired. I will say that.
Oh my god! I remember
softening in my old age on Toro Calican.
I remember going back and forth.
He's a rambunctious kid.
Yeah, that's right. Got that young kid energy.
My god, just not the best acting we've seen. I don't think either. But hey, whatever.
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about, partner.
Well, as we talk about Generation X-Wing, the biggest issue is he was sitting in Han Solo's seat. That's what made
It's
us
right.
all mad.
Get your
He's
ass
sitting in
out
Han's
of
seat.
Solo's
that,
booth.
Get out of that chair.
wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know who this jumped up punk thinks he is, but he's not Han Solo.
I mean, a few people had to have sat in that chair over the past couple of
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
They just bronzed his buttocks on that seat.
That's right. Put him in that seat like when you go to the McDonald's playground and there's the Ronald McDonald statue on the bench that you can't get around. Just put a Han statue there.
He'll
Yeah,
never
we
be
know
able
that.
to shoot first, though. He'll just sit there
That's right.
and be
Just
shot
sit there and
at.
take it.
But,
Yeah.
you know, we have a caller waiting in the
We do
back.
have
If
a
you guys
caller.
are cool with it, let me let's
do it.
bring this man in, and this may bring back memories to some of you watching. So let's go here.
Goodness gracious me.
Anka, Pachuha Pinky.
The drops.
Hey,
Look who it is.
There he
It is
is.
Josh Most from Holo Chronicles.
Pete Fletcher, you told me one time that drops extreme, Josh. And then you gave that for my intro where like I don't know, smoke is exploding and here we are. Thank you. Thank you for the extremeness of bringing me in.
Hey, you know, first of all, for those who don't know, Josh and I co-hosted the original Force Connect way back. I say way back. It's like a year and a half. Yeah, it hasn't been that long.
It was 7 weeks ago.
in this post-COVID
it feels like
world,
forever.
it feels forever. Right. But it's so good to see you, man. How are things? I understand you've been super busy with life
very
and
busy, very
things.
busy. I did want to hop on, and that's why I text you in the background. I got Pete Flexer's like number, so I text him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, but I do need to thank Nick for." He popped into our pod tonight and was like, "Oh, I got time to watch you guys," and then hit Force Connect, and I was like, "What? I think I have time to hit Force Connect," which is great because we're always busy enough to make excuses. So I'm so happy to be here and see you guys. And you guys got this convo going on. I do want to point out some key phrases I heard, or just key phrase, which is bronze butt. And I think we need to stay on theme here and just how much let's talk about this.
What are your thoughts on bronze butts?
Bronze
Josh?
butts. I did like that. I was like, I thought about that. And I was like, damn right. There better be a bronze butt in that seat, no matter where the set is. They just bronze it up, and if that terrible actor ever shows up, he knows where he's sitting. But yeah,
Kick him out.
No offense.
So now you were late to the Rebels to the Clone Wars game, if I remember correctly. And I understand you're a little bit behind on the show.
I'm
but let's talk.
I put the
filler
bad
first.
in watching Bad Batch. So yeah. So, there you go.
Do you? But let's talk about that phrase filler, because it happens all the time. Because people want everything all at once. How do you feel? I mean,
So,
especially because
I
shows
think-
they last.
Yeah,
For
I love the
several
question.
months.
I think filler is relative to your experience. So by that I mean the first time you're watching a series, when you've just gotten, like, in, let's say, season 1 Mandalorian, you've just gotten Grogu and then all this stuff, or Baby Yoda at the time, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of get those filler episodes, right? Where, like you just talked about with Fennec Shan and all that stuff. But look, so that relative to our experience wasn't so exciting. You're like, okay, what's going on? What's going on with that? What's going on with that little Yoda? What's going on? And you want the next story, right? And then obviously at the end of season 2, we get frickin' Luke, where we had some filler in that episode too. And we're getting what's his name? We're getting Paul back. He's coming around.
Yeah.
So all these things are that episode is not. It may be filler for the season that you're watching, the series that you're watching, but it could be a launching pad for another storyline, and you'll go back and watch it and be like, yeah, right. So you'll go back and be like, holy crap.
Right.
That's cool. It was boring when I watched it, or not boring, but it wasn't the most exciting part of the series that I watched, but that definitely added something. And I don't think, we're talking about guys that have, now the mantle is a little more stable on their shoulders with Dave and Favreau. But at the time, let's just go back to Mandalorian season 1. They thought every single thing through and are still thinking it through, right? So I don't think it would ever be fair, especially now what we know with what they're doing and what they've done, to call anything they do filler. It may be less exciting. I won't say boring. It may be less exciting, but I think it's always going to have, how many times have you gone back and watched Clone Wars and been like, holy crap, look at that. I was late to the Clone Wars, gathering. And I watched Clone Wars and I was grabbing stuff and sending it to Andy. And I was like, dude, check this out. That's the blank or that's the blank. And he's like, whoa, I never saw that. So think about that. Like I was new. And because I got some experience beyond Clone Wars, I was seeing stuff. I'm like, look at that right there. That's fully what's in this, Mandalorian.
You think about it, and a couple of things that you've said that just sparked in my brain. First of all, you think about it like a puzzle. You're putting a puzzle together. And if you only have a couple of the pieces in place, you don't know what the puzzle looks like until it's done. You don't know what this series looks like until we get to the end of the episodes, whether it's Mando, Bad Batch, Clone Wars. Like there really is something. Of course, we're all theorizing. We're all watching it week to week, trying to figure out where it goes. That's part of the fun. But if you're being realistic and if you're not one of those fans who's out there losing their minds 5 episodes in because it hasn't done the one damn thing that you thought it should, then that's how it's supposed to be enjoyed. You mentioned too, planting the seeds for other things. We've heard, there's kind of been this troubled Rangers of the Republic production that has kind of floated in and out. You hit the nail on the head. I want that to be now Carson Teva, Paul Sun-Young Lee, who I got to talk to, you guys had on. I want it to be him, and I want it to be Cobb Vanth. Like, let those two
that would be awesome.
run Rangers of the New Republic. It would be so freaking good.
You chills, bro. Showrunner, new showrunner, right
seriously, there. Like that's where it's at. But that's the thing. Like, it really is about absorbing the pieces, looking at it, seeing the bigger picture. And the other thought I had was, as fans, we throw around that was a filler episode. That was a filler episode. Especially if it's something, not like animation, which maybe from a directorial standpoint is a little bit different than a live action something. But can you imagine being Bryce Dallas Howard and you get on the internet and they're like, yeah, your episode was a filler episode. Like, that wasn't. I worked my ass off to make something that was really cool. Right. I don't think she was directing it going, oh, good, I get the filler episode. Like, this all
I launched a troop transport off the top of a freaking cliff and it crashed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
And all I got was a bunch of old guys
filler
about a toy.
Well, I mean, come on, listen to us. We're in the world of TikTok and Reels, man. If it is under 60 seconds, that's all you got. You catch my attention or catch me later. That's it. So whatever.
Catch me outside. How about
these
that?
damn kids?
Yeah. Now that's our era right there. That's
hey, Josh.
That's the type of person you want to see on OnlyFans. What's up?
Can we talk about that big old book that I got in this week?
Hell, dude, you lucky. Oh, I love you.
Hey, man, I gotta be honest. I got a good.
Wait,
tall friend
what book? Wait
are your
second.
arms?
Wait.
How tired are your arms from flexing so hard around your neighborhood or carrying that
See
book?
what I got?
So for
it's only for a couple. It's only for like a minute. I can do that because
I'm pretty sure Webster's defines that not as a book but as a tome. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it really is.
Wait a minute. So for people who don't know what you're talking about, what book is this?
This is the.
Let's go.
From Read 5 or Red? Is it Read 5?
Is it Red 5 or Read 5?
Red
5.
It is Red 5.
5 Designs. Yes.
Red 5 Designs. It is a book that and the title of it is go Josh. It's escaping me right now.
Josh has got it.
The title of it. But it's a book.
It is basically a comprehensive vintage Star Wars toys and figures.
Yeah.
But
at least
I
periodically
leave my seat on purpose just so you can see the shit behind me.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie.
That display on that back wall is legit.
All right. So from a flexing perspective, this is gonna be a hard flex here because I believe what is it? It's like I'm blind now, Pete. Not to call you out, but I'm blind, bro.
It happens when you get to our age.
By the way, of 25. Now, what you guys will get will be awesome as well, but the cover will be different. but I'm holding up an of 25.
Ooh, look at
Number
that.
6, by the way. Guess what?
Wow.
Andy got 5. Anyway, this is the ultimate. I would call it the ultimate. It doesn't say ultimate, but the Star Wars Guide to the Kenner action figures, like the original OG stuff, man.
Yep.
And this thing, look at that. And I am not
huge,
joking you. I'm actually spoiling my own pod here. I'm not joking you. This thing is what is it? 10 pounds? What do you think? 10?
Oh, I was thinking like 15.
8-ish?
Like it was
Yeah.
it hurt my shoulders, man.
They got pictures. There's pictures of old men in here. Like, think about that.
What
Like
kind
the
of book
history.
is this?
This is the history. There's old men. Like, yeah. I'm just kidding. This
It's
if
fantastic.
you want to see a real cool page, I mean, the awesome
Yeah.
part about this is just the detail that these guys, Greg and Gianni, from Red 5 Designs, who are great friends of ours now, have been an awesome support, and we hope that we've supported them too with just a super killer book. And so if you go to Red 5 Designs and check this out, basically look, these guys, I don't know if Gianni owns the printer. He makes so much cool shit all the time.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't even make it into the book. And the book they spent years on. So I'm doing a plug here and I won't do it too much longer.
right.
But if you go check out their site, these guys, obviously for reasons, that you understand, economic reasons, the more people that want another run, the better the odds are that this book comes out and is available to you. If you are a real Star Wars fan, so look yourself in the mirror, and do that whole face wipe down thing. And you're like, I'm a real Star Wars fan. If you believe yourself after you get done saying that and you don't own this book, break the fucking mirror. All right? That's all I
And on that
Like, yeah.
note, I mean, there's no better way to end this segment than to say, one, Josh, we're so glad that you popped in tonight. But
Yeah, I
yes,
love you
if
guys.
Anybody has not checked out Red 5 Designs, checked out that book, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And go check out the Holochronicle stream. I know y'all have covered it during the course of it being made. And I know y'all have got a show coming up where y'all are going to dig deeper into it.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll have them
get
on
a
next
copy
week.
of
So
the
actually,
book.
decent
Oh,
plug.
next week.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Thanks for having me on. I did not come on here to plug our show next week, but to say hi to you fellas, whom I love dearly. So thank you very much.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah,
We
man.
have missed you, my friend. And you know what? I think we can actually do this. We can give you a force push out of here. So here we go.
God.
Wow, that was so awesome to see Josh and talk to him, and yeah, good to reconnect. And of course, Josh and I were part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network. For those of you who remember that, and we did the Force Connect show when it first kicked off 7 weeks ago. No, in reality, it was about 2 years ago. It was a lot of fun. But speaking of fun, I think we're going to just take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to pick up a couple more callers and keep this Star Wars party going.
Just got a little bop going on. That song, y'all talked about it in the show last week. I rewatched it even though I wasn't here. Get that little 60-second jam. It's just what you need to keep
Hey,
you going.
I'm glad you watched it. We need all the likes and watches and things and subscriptions. Did you subscribe to the channel, Nick? At least, are you?
I think I subscribed to the channel. I need to go back and double check.
Go and
But
check that out. Huh?
speaking of subscriptions, perfect segue. we mentioned at the top of the show. I would be remiss if I did not mention it again. Tomorrow at 4 Eastern, Pete and I are going to get to sit down and have a conversation with Deborah Wilson. You know Deborah Wilson from Mad TV. She is also Cere Junda in Jedi Fallen Order. She is the Aki Aki voice in Rise of Skywalker. And I will say this, doing some research for this interview, you go through her IMDb, there's not a video game or animated property that you have liked, seen, participated in, watched that she hasn't been a part of. Like, she has an amazing career. She's in Jedi Fallen Order 2 or Jedi Survivor, I guess is what it's called. Right. I'm hoping we'll get some details about that. We don't know yet. But I will say this, and this is a tease, and this is your opportunity. Join our Patreon before tomorrow, and you can get to watch us interview her live in person. I saw her, and this is how it all came together. Just real quick story. 2 weekends ago, we were watching the Miss Cleo documentary on HBO Max. And again, if you grew up in the 90s, you remember Miss Cleo. Well, Deborah is featured pretty prominently in that documentary. And as I'm watching her, I'm going, wait, I know her. I know who that is. Like, the light bulb came on, and all of a sudden, all the pieces fell into place. And I have a friend who I know that she's been on a show that I've watched before. So I reached out and I was like, hey, I'd love to reach out to her. I'd love to make contact. So I sent an email to her agent. Monday morning this past week, I was at work and my telephone rang and it said, maybe Deborah Wilson, Hollywood, California. And I went, wait, what is going on here? I was in a meeting, so I couldn't answer the phone. And so I'm texting Pete furiously. I'm like, holy crap, like, I think she just called me. And so I called her back and we talked for 5 or 10 minutes. She is the nicest person I've ever talked to on the telephone. She went out of her way to be like, it's not a matter of if I do it. She's like, I am doing this. Like, it's just, when can we make it happen? Like, she was so kind. She told us, and this is the tea, she said, I have a story about how I used the Force to will Mark Hamill into my life. And I will tell that story on your podcast. So she's going to tell us that tomorrow. If you're a Patreon member, you're going to get to watch that live in real time when it happens. It'll come out, of course, on audio, in the next couple of weeks. We'd love for you to join us tomorrow. Be in the live chat, hang out, get to hear Deborah. Like, I'm so excited for this conversation because we've texted back and forth off and on this week. We said this about Greg Grunberg. Like, some of these people that we've gotten to interview are truly some of the nicest people, and they're fans too. And that's what we're always excited about, to have these conversations with them as relates to their fandom and their involvement in this thing that we love.
Chris,
I'm so jealous. I'm so
Chris,
jealous.
you're part of the network, dude. You can join us. You can call in. We'll get you the info. You can hang out with us before we talk to her. You can come and hang out. We want you there.
We got you, Chris.
We got you, buddy. We got you. Speaking of having,
We're English.
I'm just words no
Words
good.
is
Me
fine.
not talk well. Nick, I think we have another couple callers. Why don't we keep this conversation going? And let me switch gears here a little bit, and let's bring in our next caller.
Oh, thanks the Force! Come here, you little womp rat!
There he is, Connor.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Good evening, sir.
Dude.
How are you?
Doing pretty solid. Doing pretty
Excellent.
freaking solid.
Well, it's always good to see you on a Friday night. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, just want to say congrats on that, on getting that, Nick. That's really cool. I wish
It's
I
gonna be a
was
ton of fun.
subscribed, but also I wish I didn't have work tomorrow so I could watch it live. But I have work.
You'll
now.
be able to catch it in the audio of the podcast
That's
stream.
right.
I think later next week. So I think yep.
Awesome.
catch it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. Just got recently full-time work at my place.
Excellent. Congrats.
And
Welcome to the grown-up world.
for Pete'll be happy to hear this. I'm just
Yes.
mentally prepping NFC Championship.
Yeah. No, I'm actually I'm not
Something that the Cowboys haven't been to in 27 years.
Boot his ass out of here right now. Need to hear that. Thank you. Run your mouth, kid.
Oh, So here's the funny thing, though, Connor. Like, people think that because I'm a Phillies fan and a Flyers fan that I'm an Eagles fan. I'm actually a Giants fan, and I'm a unique creature, and it was a very painful. Thank goodness for alcohol and nachos, or last Saturday would have been very difficult.
That's fair.
But
I will say though,
but
Chris,
I am excited. I am hoping the Eagles make it there. I do hope they make it there.
I will
so.
say though, Chris, the one
Shut up,
time
Connor.
I really I'm being genuine here. The one time I actually really felt bad for you guys, 2014 divisional.
Cool. Shut up. All right. So anyway, what's next? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Connor, sorry. Bums.
Okay, I was being sincere.
Yeah.
What's on your mind tonight? We've been talking about fillers so far. What you got for us?
I feel filler. That was good. Yeah. What do we got?
Not Philadelphia.
In terms of Star
Philadelphia.
Wars,
Oh, I like that. Very well done. Very nice.
in terms of Star Wars, I just started playing Republic Commando for the first time today,
Oh wow. Yeah.
Okay.
and yeah, it's hard. Like they're
you
not
liking
called
it, though?
super battle droids for nothing.
Are you liking it?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. The gameplay is definitely like very early 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, I
But,
was gonna say I tried to play this reissue and the controls. I couldn't get the controls right. I still like.
The thing,
Yeah.
maybe this will help you, Pete. The thing I like about it is when you go, I think you can go into the controls menu and you can like remap every single. That's fair, but hey, 2006, you guys won it all. You can remap every single control to your liking. So you're able to do that, which I think is really nice.
Cool.
To really fit with your play style.
That is cool. Well, and speaking of, and I think I actually heard Scotty, this came up during Bombad Gaming on Wednesday night. Scotty was playing the, was it the Attack of the Clones game?
Revenge of the Sith.
game.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
Game.
But I downloaded earlier this week because it came out on the PlayStation Store, the Star Wars Demolition, which popped up, as a reissue. It's garbage. I played it for maybe 5 minutes and I deleted it immediately.
There's
Like,
a
it's
reason
so
why
bad.
they didn't reissue that.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, there's a reason,
Yeah.
That's
it wasn't good. But so Connor, real quick before we get you out of here, how do you feel about fillers in Star Wars? Is that a thing? Is it not? Is it a bigger picture deal? Where do you come down on that?
it doesn't exist.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. I agree.
It does every episode, no matter what, always has something going for it down the line, whether it's a character moment or like a big story plot moment.
For sure. We said it last week with the racing episode. The thing I took out of that episode is that Sid's not to be trusted. Like there's
Yep,
something
and
else.
Tech's pretty darn good with racing.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. But if we're taking a bigger picture thing out of it, we planted the seeds of doubt against Sid, and especially we kind of get that some more with is it Fee that in this week's episode. We're setting up this other dynamic of there's a second boss directional giving character for the Bad Batch.
I
And
need to
there's a
rewatch that
new role.
episode because watching it at 6 a.m. not the best move.
Yeah, I think to me the biggest takeaway is there's a new role model for Omega. She's
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, just the way again, that may be quote unquote filler, but again, everything that Filoni does for a reason. When she mirrors a lot of the things that Fee does. Fee sits with her hands behind her head and her feet up, and Omega's sitting.
So we
her.
may call it filler, but really we're talking about character development, and character development takes time. It doesn't happen in the big moments. Character development happens in the day to day.
100%. I think.
Always so against that.
Yep. Yeah. You're against that, Chris? No, you're not against that.
No, I said a lot of Star Wars. No, not me.
Yep. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Connor, it's so good to see you tonight. Thanks for calling in as always.
Anytime.
And hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Awesome.
I actually will be on Star Wars Explains Clone Zone next week. Talking.
That's right.
Well,
Next
there you
Wednesday,
go.
right?
Sort of bad.
Wednesday,
Yep.
that's right.
Yep. Awesome.
Connor
Well,
and
we'll be
Jared
watching for you and
hanging out in
Jared.
the Clone Zone.
And Pete and Nick may be on that coming up soon, but we're not announcing the date yet, but yes, we'll be there as well. But good luck, man. I can't wait to see you. And let's give
Absolutely.
Connor a little bit of a force push out of here. Connor
Always good
always
to see
brings,
Connor.
yeah, and he brings like these hot takes, which aren't hot takes. They're like they're things that make you go. And I'll admit, and Connor's still listening, so I love saying this. Is like sometimes the first thing he says, I'm like, and then I'm like, let me lean into that. And it's always interesting. I don't always agree with it, but I just love, and that's what I love about this whole Star Wars community is like these ideas, these thoughts, these things that people are bringing to it. And it's not black and white. It's not simple. And again, it's not filler. It's good, interesting things going on behind the
Absolutely.
scenes.
Well, speaking of good stuff, last week when I was gone, I actually got to see this caller live while I was in Memphis. I tried to call in last week, and of course, you and Chris know that because y'all were in the background. But I got kind of wifed and familyed out of right before it was time for me to go on. But the next caller was in last week, had a great take, had a great, a first time appearance. So I'm excited to get to be on with our next caller. So Pete, if you want to roll it, let's get that next caller in here.
Grief Karga said you were coming.
There he is.
Hello there. Eric Elliott joins
Eric.
us again. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. After last episode, I've been inspired to eventually start my own podcast. I need
awesome.
I need better recording equipment because I tried to be on Bombad Cast when they had Chase, and that didn't work out too well.
That's, the great news is all the the barrier to entry is pretty low, and what's even better news though is you have something to say, and I you should absolutely pursue it, man. So what do you have to say about topics we've been talking about, or any new topics?
Yeah, I will touch on the filler thing, and I'm glad that Chris brought up that he watches anime, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, a lot of these Star Wars fans, a lot of these, I'm about to say, these kids, they don't know about
damn kids.
The 28 episode Bount arc from Bleach, where they just threw in soul vampires, and it lasted 10 hours long. I did the calculation on it. And they would do this week to week. You would be waiting 28 weeks. That's like half the year.
Exactly. Yep.
But
so, do you feel like Star Wars uses filler, or do you feel like, as we've kind of, as I've kind of laid out the tone, I feel like everything is connected in Star Wars. I feel like between the story group, just kind of the way these stories are laid out, there is a connection for everything. Or do you feel like on occasion we get an episode that's literally just there for an adventure of the week?
I do think there's adventures of the week, but I don't think they're exclusive to that, because even with this last episode of Bad Batch, like, we're constantly learning new things about how the characters interact, and we can relate it to like our lives and like different archetypes we have. Like, obviously, who hasn't brought up that Wrecker is like the fun uncle type, but at the same time, Hunter, who at first I didn't give a shit about, but now I kind of starting to like more. Because 100%. I'm thinking to myself, like, he is like an overly worried father who can't let go of his fear because he has been a victim of like trauma, like serious trauma, because like everything that he was made to be, that he was put into a pod to be born, is gone. And all these characters had to figure out what is their purpose now, because they can't be clone troopers anymore.
Right.
Okay. Well, and I have a question for you. I'm gonna throw it out there. Pete and I texted about this after the episode on Wednesday, and you're gonna be my test audience for this question. You mentioned Hunter. We know, and it goes back to the first season. Everybody had, all the Bad Batch have their different mods. You have Wrecker, you have Tech, you have, whatever. Hunter's thing is he is a hunter, hence his name. He has that ability, that sense, that whatever. In this episode, and I thought it in the first season, but again, it popped back up into mind in this episode. Is it possible that part of Hunter's modification is that he's force sensitive? Because before that monster attacked, like, yes, he's a hunter. Yes, he has highly attuned senses, but like that hand went up over that pistol. Like, he knew something was coming. and it almost felt, especially Star Wars in the newer Disney era has had a thing with hands and feet and like camera shots zooming in on hands, and that camera shot went to that hand hovering over that pistol like something was about to happen, and it sparked that reminder in my mind of thinking, is it possible that one of these mods, with any of them, we've talked about, is there a lingering underlying Omega something, but I guess the question is it possible that Hunter could be Force sensitive?
Yes, I do think it's possible, especially considering that they are modified. So now that we know that midichlorians are a canon thing, it's very possible that they're modified to have more midichlorians, because as we have experienced with Phantom Menace, Anakin was the only human that could do a pod race and survive. And we see a character that has even less knowledge of how to race, and he's able to do it in tech. Now, don't get me wrong, I love that episode, but I can see theories of that. Yeah, there is more force sensitivity, and that's what makes them more attuned to certain things. So yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, I also think that Poe Dameron's partially force sensitive because he grew up with those trees.
Well,
you would know that if you read the comics.
Oh my goodness
at this
gracious!
At this point, it's just the Eric and Chris show. That's it.
Oh man, that was great.
Eric, I'm celebrating that sick burn like I'm not a part of the problem too, but yes. I am. But
anyway, you were saying about if I read the comics, what would I know?
You would know that Luke Skywalker gave Kes Dameron and Shara Bay, who are Poe Dameron's parents, these force sensitive trees, the same tree that makes up where the Jedi old texts were kept in Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same wood that's found in the cane of Chirrut Îmwe.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
He's definitely force sensitive.
Yeah. Well, and I threw it in there too as well, and I guess I should have included this in my, miniature thesis about Hunter, which of course we've gotten these seeds planted with Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian and Grogu in the testing, but also in the finale of Bad Batch last year, speaking to my old EU soul, we've got Mount Tantus. We get the drop of that. There is experimentation going on with force sensitive midichlorians, modifying, creating, and again, it all goes back to the overarching, this is how Palpatine does what he does.
Well,
For as much as you complain about somehow Palpatine returned, he's always spent his whole thing was on lasting longer, living forever. How do we make the next, project me into the next body, the next corporeal form, whatever.
And this is why I keep saying, oh God, yes. This is why I keep saying things aren't going to end well for these guys.
Yep.
If this clone is force sensitive, knowing where, like you were saying, where that the first season ended up, someone's getting experimented on. And if it's Hunter, it's going to be him. And then that's how you get Task Force 99. It's going to happen. I'm sorry, Scar Squadron is happening in some way, but
there's nothing I want more in Star Wars now than that, simply for your benefit.
Man, I really hope so, because I'll look like a jackass if it doesn't happen. But
I'm collecting clips, Chris. I'm prepared.
That's right. It's going to be the biggest I called it that you've ever seen. All right.
Or it's going to be like, here's your receipts.
Exactly. Well, Eric, we're going to get you out of here tonight. Any parting thoughts? Anything else that's on your mind before we send you on your way?
A parting thought that I had is that as today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, I've been thinking about all of the very intentional imagery and storytelling behind the Imperials and the First Order to another extent of that. I'm sorry to say this, but Star Wars fans should know that fascism is not a cool thing, and nor is xenophobia, and nor is the idea of genocide.
For sure.
It's a terrible thing that happens in real life, but thankfully we're able to soften the blow for the new generation of children to better understand it and compartmentalize what it means to be the rebellion and fight back against the oppressor. So I
For
think
sure. I'm
it's a
so
very
glad.
beautiful thing, and I think that's a good note to sign off on. And I'm
Absolutely.
very happy I could be here again. Anticipate you're going to see me again.
Can't
because
wait.
I love doing this.
Always
Thank-
glad to see you. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think you're exactly right. And I think it has been really interesting just in the most recent Star Wars stuff we've gotten, especially with Andor, and I would even say the first season of Bad Batch. We have continued to get the backstory on how bad the Empire is and getting that backstory on chain codes and forcing people to register and seeing where it came from, because what it just showed up as in 77, ooh, a big bad guy. But like we get the nuts and bolts, the people, the street view of what that meant to, the guy in the Dooku treasure, the Dooku's war chest episode, the guy that was living in that village, and they were at his house and he's saying, look, it's not what you think it is. Like, this is on a people level. This is us who are dealing with it, living here. It really is so fascinating to see them be able to, again, expand on that story and help us have a better understanding of what these stories are and what this battle versus good versus evil really means. So thank you for calling attention to that. And certainly on Holocaust Memorial Day, that is, a great correlation to make. So always good to see you. We look forward to seeing you again next time. And in the meantime, we hope you have a great weekend.
I'll send it to you too. And Chris, give him more recommendations of reading.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry.
I think I have a new favorite caller. I'm going to be waiting every single for him to
bring in the heat. That's right.
Man, I love that. I love that stuff. So we're going to take one more short break. We're going to do our last segment of time. If you're thinking about joining us, please dial in. We have a caller waiting to come in when we come back. But we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right Force Connect on Streaming Star Wars. Hello there, this is Pete Fletzer from Around the Galaxy, part of the Streaming Star Wars Network, and of course, one of the hosts of our Friday night Force Connect show. This Saturday, if you are a patron of Around the Galaxy, you get to join us live in the virtual studio audience when we interview Seer Junda herself, the amazing, the funny, the talented Deborah Wilson. She's from Mad TV as well. She's done the voices and been parts of video games that you've probably played. And she is going to be hanging out with us. And you, if you're a fan of and a patron of the Streaming Star Wars Network, head on over to patreon.com/streaming Star Wars. For as little as $3 a month, you can be part of the live virtual audience for this interview and all of our interviews. And let me tell you, we are building up quite a fun slate. So join us. Head on over to patreon.com/streaming Star Wars. Sign up today, and you can be part of the virtual audience when we talk to Deborah Wilson tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. Bye. We're back. We are back. It's been, it's funny. We sometimes don't know where the show is going to go, and tonight has been just so much fun talking about this filler concept, because it is something that social media tends to gravitate toward. It's funny, when the immediate reactions to this particular episode came out this past week, it ranged everywhere from, well, that was a waste, to my favorite episode yet. So just never mind the filler concept. There's also quite a bit of opportunity to listen to and learn more about the characters. And like I said, I think this was an Omega learning experience episode. So I was excited by that. So
let me ask you guys this about that episode real quick.
Sure.
How giddy were the two of you hearing some Indiana Jones music in this episode?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
The
my,
use
my
of
fedora is never far out of reach. So,
well,
I mean,
the use of the choral voices as doors opened and
Yep.
there was and I was surprised nobody's done this, and I'm going to probably just grab the screens and put them up on Twitter. But did you notice, I'm sure you guys did because you're big giant indie fans, when Fee is pulling the heart of the mountain out, they cut to Omega and she's doing this. She's doing the hands together thing, just like Zapata, what was his name? Zapato, whatever his name is, who was with Indy when he was getting the idol at the beginning of Raiders. He did. She did.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she did like a little bit of a.
What's his name?
Yeah. Anyway, the guy who was with him, who had the spiders on his back, throw me the idol, I throw you the whip. That guy.
And he's Doc Ock in Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina. Yeah, same thing.
But yeah, so I'm with you, Chris, and it's so cool because it almost feels like they're not even hiding it anymore. They're like, nope, this is not just an indie reference. This is an indie lift, and it's great, and we love it. It's very cool,
and it makes sense because every person who watches Star Wars is conversant in indie. Like it is,
it's true.
There's a shared synergy there, especially again if you reach a certain age, a certain point, like. These things go together. They're my 1 and 2, and there's a reason for that because they fit together.
And Dan, I was talking with Dan yesterday, and he was saying there was one thing that reminded him from the Fellowship of the Ring, the first Lord of the Rings flick. That secret opening in that mountain, like when you say, like, what's the word for friend? It's melon, and like like parts of it lit up, and there's like a door in the mountain or something like that. And he had picked up on that because it was sort of the same thing right before Wrecker had taken that big piece and thrown it out. But yeah, that was another thing. I was like, wow, yeah, that's I didn't pick up on that either. But yeah, I thought that was awesome.
So cool. It was great episode. And again, it's funny. People thought it was filler. To your point, I think Chris, you said it before, or maybe it was you, Nick. You're gonna go back and watch it in a couple weeks, couple months, couple years, and you're gonna be all on it. So it's great. So we're gonna bring in a caller in a second, but I just again wanted to remind everybody, tomorrow we are recording with Deborah Wilson. If you want to join us live in the chat, in the virtual studio audience, when we speak to her tomorrow, you got to become a patron. It's only $3 a month, and for $3 a month, you get to join us every time we record with our guests. And we've had some amazing guests. I go back to the Greg Grunberg interview, and we didn't even have to prompt him. He was reading the chat. He was going through it. He was calling out our friends like Matt Harrington and guys like that, and just making it part of the conversation. If you are a Around the Galaxy streaming Star Wars Network patron, you get to be a part of all those conversations when they happen. So consider that. I'm going to stop trying to sell that. We're going to have fun tomorrow, with or without you. I don't care. Join us. It'd be great if you're there. We'd love to have you.
That's right. And speaking of joining,
can you guys send me a link? Can you guys send me a link just in case?
We got you, dude.
We will send you a link.
We got you. Of course, we got you. But speaking of joining,
there for a second.
Speaking of joining, I do want to throw it out there one more time, and Pete's going to drop it in the chat. If you want to join us right now, if you have thoughts about filler episodes, if you have thoughts about Indiana Jones and Star Wars, whatever's on your Star Wars mind tonight, call in, join us. We've got another caller who's hanging out, who's been patiently hanging out in the background, one of our regulars, one of our favorites. And we're going to get to him in just a hot, quick second. But if you're watching and you have a thought and you want to call in, hit that link. Pete just put it in the chat and come join us. We want to hear from you too.
All right. So without further ado, let's bring in our next caller.
And who might you be?
There he is.
What's up, boys?
The legend.
Brian
Fantasy. One and only
Brian.
I just want to say thank you for going to commercial and have a little discussion so that I didn't have to immediately follow Eric.
Oh man, I'll tell you, but again, I think everybody who calls the show, other than that one guy who called us Disney shills, which was fun, by the way. Go ahead, do that because we are.
Oh, and he resurfaced this week with a really weird deepfake video, but that's another story.
that was great. Yeah. I loved it actually. But the conversations that we end up having are so interesting, and that's what's so great about Star Wars. I think, Brian, you're a father, and if you have kids, you end up having conversations. I mean, Jack, my son, he's 10 now. He's asking all these Wars that it's sort of like, you know, when you have the answer, you feel smart, and then he asks you that one question, you're like, well, I don't know why he did that. That's like, why do you think he did it? So it's great. It's great to keep those conversations going. But Brian, what do you got for us? Other than, by the way, I love the purple background. That's a great choice of color. I think,
you know, I've seen a number of people use it, and I thought I would just go with it.
Yeah, it works. It works.
It works well. It works well. It contrasts with the white behind it so that I don't look so pasty.
You know what else it goes well with, Brian?
I understand that.
What's that?
It also goes well with a
it does go
Caves Oasis whiskey glass.
Yeah.
Just saying,
that.
you know.
You guys have
Just
matching
throwing it
whiskey
out there.
glasses. Insane. So what do you got for us, Brian? What's up?
So, one, for when I talk about filler stuff.
Yeah.
Before we even get there, go Birds.
Yeah, you know, I have to say, and I know this isn't, we call it Sports Talk Radio for Star Wars fans, but I'm going to talk sports for a second.
Chris has exited the chat now, so
I feel like I have enough Eagles fan friends that I have to root for them, but my Giants blue blood is like, you can't do that. But nobody.
But
cares
here's
about
the,
San
here's the
Francisco,
dirty secret
so,
of it all.
Yeah.
As an Atlanta Braves fan, I don't care who Dan Miller rotes for. The Phillies are garbage, and that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Well, you know,
Didn't mean to
it's,
go there.
it's an opinion, and we're all entitled to that. So
it's true. That's my hot take.
Okay. So I'm sorry, sir. Please.
No, so all the stuff filler. No, we have character filler. You know, sometimes seems in especially the animated shows to be confused because no one realizes until later that it's actually foreshadowing.
Yep.
You know, the other thing about filler is, as we learned, you know, even just from recently as Andor, not everything in Star Wars has to be pew pew and lightsabers all the time.
Very good.
Turns out it's better when it's not all the time.
Who would have thought that? You know,
right?
Oh, Lucasfilm did.
Yeah, the people that know what they're doing for 45 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see. I took notes while we were going here, so I'm looking at them.
That's what happens if we keep you behind the scenes waiting for the call long enough. You have to you get to start taking notes. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Hunter being force sensitive. Maybe, but I don't think if it happened, it was purposely.
Okay.
It might just been like a genetic, like not planned mutation, which is why, what Chris brought into thinking he's going to wind up at Mount Tantus so they can create Scar Squadron from him.
Yep.
It's a very good theory, and I'll co-sign on that.
Yeah.
I know they said like he can sense like the vibrations and like the like magnetic fields of a planet and stuff like that, but that kind of sounds a little midichlorian-ish.
Yeah, it feels forcey, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let's see. And the other thing, I think Poe is too.
Yes.
Even that's a little bit because everything we said, like what Eric brought up with the tree, you know, not only the tree is that he grew up on Yavin, which, as anyone knows from a lot of the legend stuff, that was, you know, there's a lot of force stuff that happened on Yavin. It was kind of, that's the word. So, yeah. And yes, Scar is happening. That's what I have in the corner here. Scar is happening.
Love it.
Oh yes.
Well, now that means when it doesn't happen, Brian, I'm going to be adding you to that clip video.
Listen, we have like 50 years to figure it out until it happens.
I'll be dead before we find out for sure.
We're all old. Come on.
I say everybody on this screen's in trouble. What are we talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Like people, like some fans have been wanting. It's almost like they want the "No, I am your father" moment for like every episode.
Yep.
And like you can't do.
Nope. It's not.
I can take that every week. Like, give me. But you can't really do that every week. You gotta slow some things down every now and again, so that the big moments are big, impactful moments when it happens.
Right.
Or else it's just going to be the similar thing. It's going to be the Walking Dead TV show where it's like major moment, every episode until it's like. So yeah.
I mean, it's I again, as you know, I'm not a major expert by any means about comic books, but not every comic book had a revelation. In fact, it was when I will say my comic book era in the 90s when I did collect Spawn and the Batman series that was going on. It was like you waited. There was the once a year you had the big story reveal and the big. This is the big push, and then the rest of it built the characters. Again, it was character building, and I think that it is so funny because so many people who take umbrage with Disney era Star Wars and talk about character development and things like that's what's happening. Just shut up and let it happen, right?
Right.
And no one loves to bitch more than Star Wars fans.
Say that again.
I said no one loves to bitch more than Star Wars fans.
Oh, without question. And the other Brian, the other half of the Brian dyad, chiming in the chat. They want gameplay only, no cutscenes. It's sad.
The Brian.
The Brian.
That's good. But that's just it. And of course, all the memes, like the one about like the one person holding back the other person that wants to go fight the person walking away, and all three of them say Star Wars fans, like. That's it. Like, at what point do we go? Let the story develop. Let it. This is it. Girls with sabers. Exactly what I was about to say.
Absolutely.
The plot. Oh, that's
No,
the
not
wrong
that
one. I hit.
Nope.
No, that wasn't it.
It's true though. It's true though, Eric. It's true.
There it is. The plot has to simmer. I don't know why that was the wrong one that showed up. But yes, the plot has to simmer. You have to give it time to develop. Like anything that's going to be good, you don't throw a bunch of soup stuff in a pot and it's soup in 5 minutes. You've got to let it turn into a thing. So
yeah.
Welcome to the analogy portion of the program. Brian, do you have one? Do you want to do one? I'm just kidding.
Are we taking the SATs now? What are we doing?
Star Wars fans love to complain. I know Nick's admitted to doing it. I've admitted to doing it when the prequels came out. They grew upon me, and I realized that I was wrong back then. And it was just because it wasn't what I wanted at that time. But now realizing how much it made the fandom grow, there is no Star Wars without the prequels at this point, much like the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Jack and Molly and all them, when they're older, they're going to be saying how great the sequel trilogy is, just like you have Scotty and Jerry going off on how much they love the prequels because that's what they grew up with.
Right.
Correct.
It's very true. And it's, and I think we need to do more of that sort of admission. I mean, when I read the fan fiction novelization that I wrote of The Phantom Menace in my foreword, I beat up the Phantom Menace a little bit, and that was only 2019, 2018. And it's, it's interesting. When Nick and I, before we started the network, Nick and I were doing things regularly together, Nick was a guest on the show, and we talked about how The Mandalorian and how the different shows that are coming out are making those connections to the sequels, much like honestly, Clone Wars saved the prequels for a lot of people. Nobody looks at the prequels the same if you watch the Clone Wars, and I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. Again, I'm still not a big fan of having to have seen every piece of media, whether it's comics, books, or every TV show. But and Scotty said it last week. Star Wars is forcing the fans to take part in every piece of visual media right now, right? Because if you missed Book of Boba Fett, you have no idea why Grogu is back with Mando. And it's honestly, I think it's more of a marketing problem. I think it's a marketing opportunity. They need to make a connection so that I know that if I'm not a Boba Fett fan and I'm going to skip that show, I'm going to miss some important things.
Yeah. And I want to call out this comment from Girls with Sabers also. I think everything right now is a bridge to the sequel trilogy. Somehow Palpatine returned. Why this is why. Rise of Skywalker had too many plots to develop in a 2-hour movie. And that has been my number one. And I didn't get to call in last week. I was out of town. But one of the hot takes, I texted him to Pete in case they needed him. one of my hot takes was The Rise of Skywalker is not as bad as it generally gets billed to be. I will say my number one critique with The Rise of Skywalker is exactly the way I felt about the end of Game of Thrones. I'm not mad at where it ended up. I'm mad at the fact that they didn't take more time to get there.
Right.
If you had taken The Rise of Skywalker, and instead of, because this is a Star Wars thing, instead of doing 3 trilogies, but you had been willing to make that last movie 2 movies like they did with Harry Potter, like they essentially did with Marvel, give that plot time to breathe and be built. It's a totally different thing without fundamentally changing the things we got in that movie. I think it's about an economy of time and trying to get so much done in one last movie without it being 3+ hours.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Good.
Excellent.
Right.
That's
That's
right.
all I got.
Brian, that's right. Brian has said he's done, so we can end the show now.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, Brian, we are going to give you a force push out of here. Thank you so much for A, hanging out and being patient, and B, coming back like you do every single week, man. We appreciate it. Have an awesome
I'm always
weekend.
happy when you guys can have me on and I'm available to do it.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Love it, man. Thank you.
Good to
Here's
see
the
ya.
push.
All right.
All right, so we are going to wrap up the show, but before we do that, why don't you guys tell me what's going on for you guys this week? I think you have Deborah Wilson.
Yeah.
Have you heard something about that? A couple of things going on. I will throw an extra shout out to yesterday. A new episode of Around the Galaxy dropped, and it was my conversation with Brandon Winerdy from Talking Bay 94. Brandon has been on, and this is, again, peek behind the curtains. This was recorded in December. It was right before Pete and I kind of said, let's switch it up. Let's do Streaming Star Wars as the network. He and I co-host Around the Galaxy together, made some changes. So it was originally recorded as a podcast at the Wills. It was me and Brandon. Brandon's been on with me before. He's been on with Pete before, but such a good dude, such a, wealth of knowledge. And as a collector, we went nerded out on the collectibles we have, Indiana Jones, he's one of us. So fun conversation. It dropped yesterday in the audio. I'd encourage you to check that out. Yes, if you haven't heard tonight, I don't know what's wrong with your ears, but we are recording with Deborah Wilson tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific. If you are not a Patreon member, you still have time to join at as little as $3 a month. You can hang out with us live tomorrow where we record that conversation. And I am certain it's going to be one of the most fun Star Wars conversations we've had, short of Greg Grunberg a couple weeks ago. So that's coming up. It's going to drop in the audio. We had a really fun conversation with a guy named David O'Reilly recently, who's a location scout. That one's coming up. We've got some more stuff booked and on the radar. We're chasing some things. There's a bunch of fun stuff coming for Around the Galaxy. And we just can't wait for you to check it out. So if you're not subscribed, if you're not a Patreon, streamingstarwars.com gets you to all of the things you need. And we desperately hope you would check that out.
Chris, what's happening in Broaxium, buddy?
Well, let's see. We're switching a little bit we're starting to put a lot more shorts out. So, we've got our unrefined Broaxium we're doing. I'm starting to put up old outtakes from quick shots when Dan and I used to do them in the comic shop on South Street at Atomic City Comics, and they're ridiculous. Star Bros have a new episode coming out on Stormtroopers, I believe, this week. Next week we have the first issue of Sana Staros. She's getting her own comic book starting in February.
Saw that today.
And I'm really looking forward to that one.
I'm about to ask a really dumb question. As the second of the 2 non-comic book dum-dums on this screen right now.
You shouldn't wound yourself like that.
No, it's okay. I'm confident. I'm confident in it. Is Sana Staros the Han Solo girlfriend?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
The one that was supposed to be his wife, but it was all a scam.
Correct.
But
yeah. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
she's got hers.
I knew that part.
So she has her book that's coming out, and that's looking pretty fun. I'm not sure where in the timeline it is just yet, because I'm trying not to read up too much on it before I read it for the quick shots and just for myself in general. We have Broaxium Gaming on Tuesdays, and of course, Shooting the Poodoo live every Sunday night. And yeah, Mr. Fletcher.
I'm excited. Chris, you need to know I'm actually going to a comic book show on Sunday, the Garden State Comic Book Show. If anybody who's listening has access to Sussex County Fairgrounds, let me know. DM me on Twitter. I'd love to hook up and say hello. But my dad is taking my son to go on Pokemon card hunting, so they'll be doing that, and I'm gonna go and hang out and look at all the comic books and go, wow, these look neat.
This stuff?
These are I love the floppy books with the pictures and whatnot.
Pretty colors. It's so nice.
I am going to come home with some collectible though that I don't need. I guarantee it, because there's always like some like resin statue of something. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll get that hunter helmet for no reason. Yeah, so really excited about that, guys. This has been a lot of fun tonight. It's been a great show. We've had a blast talking to everybody. Thank you everybody for calling in. This is what the show is about. It's about you driving the conversation, hanging out with us, telling us what's on your mind. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but I'm sure something will happen in the Star Wars universe over the next week or so. So without further ado, Nick, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.